Um, it was really funny actually. I had gone to meet a friend of mine, Shrishti, on the sets of Bas Itna Sa Khwab Hai, and Sushmita was shooting for her. It was an item song, and I think Rene's adoption process had just gotten completed at that point, and Sushmita was talking about Rene and showing the pictures, and I don't know, it's just one of those eureka moments, you can say. And I just thought that her spirit was so correct for my character. So I suggested her name to my producer, Mr. Jang Sugan, and he was absolutely okay with it. And then I went and spoke to her, and she was very excited about it. So I'm glad that happened.
So after you shot for it, you realized that the character that she is, the person she is in real life, is it very close to the character she played in Filhaal?
Quite. She's Sia's character was very effervescent, very spontaneous, embracing life, with wide open arms. And through the course of shooting Filhaal, I realized that Sushmita is very much like that. In fact, I would like to believe that there's very little acting that she's done in the film.
What we know of her, what we've seen of her, she seemed to be a free-spirited, liberal, and someone who's living her life on her own terms. And also one example she set, I think, for everyone around, being a single mother. In the public eye, we see a very few people like her. Do you think, am I right in saying that, do you think she set an example for people, for women especially, in the industry and the country?
I'm not sure whether she consciously set out to do that, but I think that is one of the ways to look at it. The way I would like to look at it is that she has lived her life on her terms, done everything that she's wanted to without conforming to set paths or norms or what we as society consider the right thing to do. I mean, if she was in a relationship, she's been very open about it, whereas actresses are, very discreet about who they're seeing or whether they're involved with somebody. The choices that she's made in her films, the choice of adopting a child, I think all of this just shows a person who wants to live life to the fullest and on her terms, So if as a byproduct of that, she has ended up setting an example for women, so good. So be it.
Do you think she actually fits into that song and dance routine that she's gotten into in the Indian Hindi film industry?
The thing is, when you're, as a person, if you are intelligent when you are giving interviews, and as an actress you look intelligent, it becomes difficult for an average film goer to see that person, doing the normal dancing around trees routine. A lot of our actresses face that problem, and Sushmita being one of them. But it used to be so that unless you do that routine and get some kind of recognition or success in it, you're not regarded as a successful actor, unfortunately. Thankfully, that's changing. You don't need to do that now. The kind of films that we're making have very little of that song and dance routine now. So I think I think every actor has to, at one point ride both those boats and then take a final call on, which one they want to be on permanently.
She's known to be, when I've done the research for her, so I found out that she's a very poetic and a very artistic, she has poetic and artistic leaning.
Yeah.
So did you see that in her when you were working with her?
Yeah, she would share her poems with me. She's a fabulous singer as well. She's sung a lot of times on our sets, and she shared her poems with me, and her taste in music is very eclectic. She's very musical minded, dances like a dream. So she is, I think most Bengali people have a very strong creative slant to them, and it's very prominent in her.
During the time when she won Miss Universe,
yeah.
According to you, what do you think that set her out, that she managed to get this crown and she managed to to be out there among others? She managed to win this the pageant. What was that extra quality that she had that came out reflected?
I think the biggest part about her, whether she was in the pageant, whether she's in her film, she's a very what you see is what you get person. There are no layers, there are no facades. So it's that her spirit comes through, you know. And I think that's what got her these victories, because she spoke from the heart. She didn't rehearse politically correct lines. And there was an honesty in her, which I think came through. And I mean, it always does to me whenever I read her interviews, or she's talking to the press, or even when I was watching the pageant and the way she was answering. There's nothing theatrical about it. It's very honest. You know, there is an honesty in it, an earnestness in it, and I think that goes a long way.
Coming to her film, her career, film career, you think so far has she made her choice of roles that she's made? Do you think that according to you they were correct, or at some point of time she made some bad choices that, you know, she doesn't have so many successful films that someone else would?
You know, the thing with the success of a film, it's very difficult to predict. So when an actor chooses to do a film, there must be a certain level of belief in that film. And Sushmita is not the type who's done 5 films a year. So she's been very discerning about the kind of films she's done. It's a different matter that those films may have worked or not worked, but then that is something you can't predict. And me having done just 2 films, I think I'm far more inexperienced to make a comment on her choices. But again, I would like to say, I mean, this is my personal belief of her, is that again in the choices of those films there's been an honesty, there's been a conviction. It's not always been about, you know, this will put me as number 1 in that numbers game, or this will give me that one elusive hit that I want. It's not been that. It's always been a conviction of the script, or you know, a liking of the story or the setup or the director. I mean, she's always gone with her gut. So also in her choices of films.
Is there a reason why she's, if we take success in the normal definition, she's still not in that league of actresses that we would say are successful actresses? Reason behind it? Any reason behind it according to you?
I think she's a star in her own right, and a very shiny one. You know, but I guess this is where she wants to be. I mean, and I know her as a person. I mean, from what I've known of her, for her, having a complete life is very important. She doesn't want to spend 90% of her life in a film studio. So she doesn't do 10 films in 2 years. She's very, very clear about how much off time she needs for herself, and does a whole lot of other things as well. So I think that is her choice. You know, she's chosen to develop her career in that way, and I think it's absolutely fine. She's a star, and she always will be.
She was after a long time she won Miss Universe pageant, and it was something that everyone would, you know, a lot of people witnessed, and it was something all of us remember as we saw that. Do you think she set up you know, an aspirational level for the middle class, normal girls who now knows that they can do it, they can reach up to levels like even international pageants, they can just go out there and win? Do you think she's been an aspiration for people?
Of course. I mean, I remember an interview of hers that she gave when she was talking about making that outfit for the finals of the Miss India, and the gloves, the socks or stockings or something like that, you know, and she cut it, and her mother cut it and made it into gloves, and you know, that's where she's coming from. That's one of the reasons why she's so grounded and still continues to live life on her terms. She does not succumb to what the world considers successful or what the world considers popular. So, and it started right from there, even before she was the Sushmita Sen that we know today. And the fact that she can come on, you know, and tell that story in front of the media is commendable. So of course, I mean, for every girl who perhaps cannot afford a designer gown for that contest, or there's also a story where she got rejected for a catalogue because they thought that she was not good enough, or she was too dusky or not pretty enough. these stories, because she has shared it with the people, there is a sense that if you're determined, if you have it in you, if you have that inner spark, eventually it will, shine forward.
According to you, your favorite performance of Sushmita in the film so far?
In my film? Or in her career?
In her career.
Oh, Filhaal, undoubtedly. Yeah, I mean, I'm not just being, possessive or whatever, but or sentimental. But I honestly think that was her most earnest performance, most definitely.
There was this film called Sanjay, if you have seen it.
No.
Actually, then it's no point asking.
Okay.
But when I was researching, I found out that role was written for a man, for a male actor. And they cast Sushmita, they made accordingly, they made the changes. But then she, still that she fitted into that role, which was essentially for a male actor. Do you think it's it's her strong personality and the kind of a person she is. That's why she's been able to take play such strong characters on screen also. And if you remember even in your film, she was a very strong character.
Yeah, see, a lot of times what happens is, consciously or subconsciously, your personality type does reflect in your performances and the characters that you play. I'm not saying it's always the case, but it happens a lot. And because she is a very strong and independent person, for her, and we know that of her, and that is her image as well in the media and for the audience, it becomes easier for us to identify with somebody like her in a role like that, which was supposedly written for a man, than say another actress who would probably be, have an image of being softer and more feminine and more, not feminine is not the right word, but probably more fitting with the stereotype of the conventional Hindi film heroine, And then she comes and she does a Meghna, where she's in these chiffon saris and, under a waterfall and, doing the complete, that dream girl kind of thing. So, I mean, she just pulls off everything because I think it's because of her effervescence. As a person, she's extremely bubbly, extremely energetic, and that comes through her performances, that comes through on screen. That's a very big part of her screen presence.
Without a godfather, do you think it's difficult? It has been difficult for her to set foot in this industry, to make her mark?
I think the Miss India title and the Miss Universe title were very, very important platforms for her. She was already known before she did her first film. So in that sense, one could say that those crowns were, kind of like godfathers for her. But yeah, I mean, without having that somebody to guide you, support you, promote you, the process and the path does become more difficult. Not impossible, but slightly more difficult. But then she had the titles behind her, and she had her conviction, and she had her talent. So I think that kind of worked very well for her.
Keeping in mind that everyone says that models can't be good actors, did you face any difficulty working with her? Did you face that making her act according to your direction?
No, not at all. In fact, I think my biggest challenge with her was because it was my first film and the subject was tricky. And obviously, because I didn't have any body of work behind me to prove my mettle, for me the biggest challenge was to win her faith in me as a director, in my film, in my script, and the way I have written her character and the way I will deal with, treat her character in the film. Once that was won, everything else was beautiful.
Recently, actually, she came out with a film, Chingari. You've seen that?
No, parts of it. I've not seen that one.
So I just wanted to ask you about her performance.
No, I've not seen the whole film, but from whatever I saw of the promos, the way she had gone in for the get-up and everything, That's again her throwing herself into something that she completely believes in. She completely sinks her teeth into the character, into the film, into the role. But she needs to believe in it. She needs to be excited about it. She needs to be charged about it. She needs to be in love with that film and that role. And then you just see her shine completely. And actually, if that's not there, she won't even do the film. So you've never seen her do a film half-heartedly, ever.
Now she's turning a director.
Mm.
Did you ever, at that point of time, did you ever think that she would get into direction at some point of time?
No, and that was also because Filhaal was a very long time ago. So I don't know whether those inklings were in her at that time at all. But because she's a poet, because she's a creative mind, and a creative mind will always want to expand their creative palette. I'm not surprised that she wants to direct a film.
Lastly, do you think Sushmita Sen, the persona, do you think she has that enigmatic persona like a Rekha, that mystical, mysterious?
Not really. I think one, in today's times with the presence of the media, there really can't be a mystery. At the time, probably at Rekha ji's time, the press and the media was not that omnipresent as it is today. But if you talk about that diva quality and that star quality, yeah, that's there. That's there. But completely in her own right. She's not aspiring to be somebody else, and one would not even think of somebody else when you think of Sushmita Sen. She has just made such a strong and full place for herself that when you think of Sushmita Sen, you think of Sushmita Sen and not Sushmita Sen who is like somebody else. She's very much her own person and has very much her own place in the spotlight.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.